So I take it you're just blocking everything in.
Yes, I'm doing a little blocking, designing where my my dark shapes are and the lighter shapes, and then I can refine the drawing once it's done. Kind of loose, you know, loose design, loose. It's a little bit easier when you paint flowers because exactly. And I'm not using any medium. I'm just, aside from turpentine for the wash, I'm just using straight color. Okay. So this is the base, the base that I do, the drawing, the blocking of the shapes. And once it's done, I look at composition, I look at the design. For example, right now those flowers are all a little bit, similar shapes, and you can use, your paper towel with turpentine to actually use it as a kind of drawing tool. Okay, so I can make it. Here you go. Okay. And I talked in the beginning, before my microphone was on, I talked about composition boundaries. Sometimes, you see still life, and you can squeeze it all in inside, the canvas or panel that you have. Me personally, I like when it's a little bit enlarged and it kind of goes away a little bit outside of the those boundaries. But you have to be careful when you're designing it, because sometimes when half of the flower is on the outside, I can travel too far and leave the canvas and never come back. So be careful. But I think it creates more interesting design, more interesting space when it's open. All right. So I think this is the first kind of drawing is done. We found kind of like loosely, we blocked some shadow and light. And I think now we're ready to paint. And sometimes you look at still life. I have a little branch with green leaves on the table, and when I look at those leaves, pretty same value as the pink shadow of the table. So I suggest you always squint, because sometimes color of the light can trick us. We perceive yellow color as bright, but if we squint, it's actually could not be the brightest thing. All right, so now we're ready to paint. And before I start painting, I look at local color. By local color, I mean color not affected by light or not in the shadow. It's kind of like mid-tones, because mid-tones, they do represent actual color of the object. So, and I usually start with those. On my palette, I have titanium white, cadmium yellow light, cadmium medium, yellow ochre, cad orange, fire red, alizarin crimson, some kind of brown. I like it. It sometimes saves time, but you can mix blue and red, and you'll get the same brown. I have platinum violet. I like it the most. It's not too cool. It's not too warm. It's kind of something in between. Ultramarine blue, a little bit of manganese, olive green, and sap green. This one is just some kind of grayish mixture. I use a lot of paint, and what I do once I'm done, sometimes I scoop the paint, I mix them together, and you get wonderful grays, very nice grays, and you can tube them and save for later. All right, but let's start. And like I said before, sunflowers, we see a lot of petals, we see a lot of details, but I treat it, I try to simplify it. I treat it as a, saucer or a cup or a bowl, because it essentially it has this kind of bowl shape. So it helps me to understand where light is and where where a shadow is. When I And I'm putting pretty big strokes at this moment. So I just want to kind of cover everything, build relationship between mid-tones, lights, dark, get everything done. And then we can, because we don't need to paint every petal. We probably, once everything is covered, we can come back and really work on focal point to bring a couple extra details there. But right now we just wanna cover the real estate. I'm trying to do it pretty loosely, just putting, one stroke here, one stroke there for the leaf without kind of going into too much detail. To me, it saves freshness. Sometimes I get, overly cautious and I start like putting smaller strokes, and at the end, I don't like it as much. So I try to keep it simple and loose as long as I can. We have limited amount of time. today, and I'm using one brush, which is not ideal. But when I'm in my studio and I have more time, I have the same size brushes, and then I would use one for warm colors, one for cools, one for shadows, one for light, because in a matter of half an hour, brush gets pretty dirty, and then colors mix, and they're not clean anymore. Right, let's do the little flowers. And I talked about it before. Those leaves, green leaves, when I look at still life, they seem brighter than the shadow of the on the table. But when I squint, they really pretty much the same value. So that's how you can achieve soft edges, because if you put a stroke of you don't even have to blend, but if you put a stroke of different color but same value, you will not, those edges will disappear. So that's one of the So now I'm gonna do the lights for the sunflowers. So maybe for that purpose, I'm gonna get a clean brush. Maybe softer. Yeah, let's do this one. And you can see I'm not at this point, I'm not using too much white, because as soon as you use white, it reduces the chroma, it reduces the saturation of the color. So you wanna, if you wanna some rich colors in your shadows or midtones, I usually try to avoid white, so it doesn't make it look too pale. On time.
Well, I like a modern. I want to do modern, so I use a kind of brush called a bright, and it's a real geometric line.
That would be a good
Yes.
time right now if you want to take a break.
Yes, I do.
Yes,
So I
yes,
have,
let's
like,
do that.
these
But
big brushes.
you know,
I have brushes that are actually this wide.
this is something now everything is covered. It's, I would say sometimes I would even consider it done. Okay, you know, sometimes you have to stop yourself, but we'll take a break and we will noodle with some details.
Colors down, scrape some colors away so you get the transparency showing through, and then come back with.
Okay, we're good. Can you hear? Oh, I can hear.
And we see you.
All right. So I'm gonna finish it, but I'm gonna talk a little bit about you know, at this point, I think sometimes I would even stop and consider it done, because you can see it, sunflowers, you see the vase and light and everything. So we were just discussing that sometimes you have your plans to improve, but knowing myself, you know, it's probably common for all artists. It can go either way. It can be improved, but it can be overworked. And there is no undo button. I wish there is. But when I have more time and I think, okay, what else do I do? I usually work on looking for some reflected light, for some reflections. For example, you know, there is a vase, right? And we have our pink drapery. So that pink actually reflects, if you observe carefully, that pink reflects in the vase. So you can go and kind of add that reflection lightly. Same thing on the other side, there is like reflected light. So that's additional careful step that you can take when painting is, you know, 80% finished, 70% finished. And then you can work on, I work on softening, you know, you can soften some edges. Here you go. And, maybe refine some greenery. Little bit of details. And these flowers are in foreground, so it's okay to add a little bit smaller strokes, smaller details to bring them up closer to us. I think we can call it done. What do you think?
Beautiful.
Thank you. But I can answer questions. If people have questions, I can definitely. Talk. Yes. Okay. Since. All right. So I'm gonna. Is it in the? Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So I'm gonna talk. Now, hopefully, people can hear me. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about my kind of like, decision-making, painting process. So I start with composition. I think about composition, and I think composition is the biggest thing, because if it's not good, no matter how good your colors or shapes are, most likely painting is not going to work. And I was showing my little sketchbook again in the beginning. If I'm not, if I'm not lazy and don't jump right away into painting, it's always tempting. I do little sketches, compositional sketches before I paint, and it helps me because, if sketch is good, if design is good, then you have a better chance at succeeding with the painting. Yeah.
Beautiful book.
Yeah, I love the book. It's actually it's like a it's enjoyable to draw in this book. So and I use Copic markers to do those kind of like composition and value studies. And I use my composition finder to kind of zoom in, zoom out. And okay, so composition first. I consider, rule of third one of the compositional principles where you kind of decide where you're putting your focal point, and also compositional boundaries where you squeeze your still life in the frame, or let it kind of loose a little bit. Values are very important because you're thinking about darkest darks and lightest lights and everything in between. And then I look at shapes. I talked a little bit about sunflowers and how we see all those petals and everything, or roses. And we think, oh my God, how I'm going to paint it? But if you try to break those flowers or whatever you're painting in more simple geometric shapes, it will help to understand where light and where shadow and everything in between. Color, I love color, as you can tell. And but when I set still life, or when I go outside to paint, I think about, is it a cool color? Is it a warm color? Sometimes you can enhance one color by placing color. You can enhance warm color by placing cool color next to it. And I was talking about soft edges where you can place different colors but the same value, and edge between them will be disappearing. Light. So I think about light, and the main principle is that we always talk about warm light, cool shadows, cool light, warm shadows. So I think about that, but you can always cheat and take artistic license. So that's I guess, and I start with composition. I do my washes and think about mid tones, because those are local colors, and I decide what they are. When I paint outdoor, when I go paint outside, I decide also on highlights, if I want to put highlights first or last, because during 2 hours, sun changes, and whatever was in the light might not be in the light anymore. So it's kind of decision I make when I start. But with still life, unless I let fruit sit for 5 days, then I don't have to worry about it. So that's pretty much my my process, and I hope it was a good demo.
Excellent.
My palette. My palette. I love my palette. Can you zoom in on the palette? My palette is. I take the same palette when I go outdoor, but this is more of a still life palette, because I have a lot of, you see, a lot of green. I have this is sap green, and this is olive green. This kind of gray green was, I paint couple still lifes with this palette, and whatever is left before it dries out, I mix it all together, and it creates wonderful grays. And then I have those like little tubes, so I tube those and use them later. So that was from the past, but you can create very cool.
Is that alizarin you're mixing?
Yes, I'm mixing with alizarin, so you can create very,
Right.
really cool kind of subdued colors with it. So
No, it really does look.
it's yeah, because sometimes it's too much, but it grays it down, but it's not, it's not chalky, it's not dirty. Yeah. So I use titanium white, and then cadmium yellow light, cadmium yellow medium, yellow ochre, cad orange. This is, I believe, fire red.
That's
What kind of?
Fire red. Yeah. I think honestly I use cadmium red as well, but I just ran out. So this one is pretty good. Alizarin crimson. This is one of the browns. I forgot. Some I forget, but if you don't have a brown, just mix. I use it because sometimes I'm lazy. It's easier, but if you mix ultramarine blue and one of your reds, it actually it can be even richer.
Yeah.
So I have platinum violet. I like platinum violet because it's neither too cool like carbazole violet or too warm like quinacridone violet. So it's little bit in between. It has this kind of nice, very nice, beautiful color. Ultramarine blue. This one, I think, I believe it's manganese. I don't really use it that much. Sometimes when I do like reflected light, I add a touch of it, because if there is a cool light reflected, in the waves or in something, so I mix it with,
Now, the other thing is, I noticed you did the whole painting with pretty much one brush.
one brush.
It looks like a filbert.
Yes, Yes, but it's pretty hard, brush. I like harder brushes. Yeah, because it gives me, sometimes those soft brushes, a lot of people like them, but I need a little bit more force. So
You just hold the paint and lay it down
yeah. So you need a strong brush for that. Thank you. Thank
So
you.
how do you close up your box and not get rid of your paint?
Oh, I use Saran wrap.
Oh, okay.
I use Saran wrap. And
When you got here, did you have your paints already set up, or was it in Saran?
it was in Saran. Yeah,
Oh, I
yeah,
missed that part.
yeah. Yeah.
I was busy trying to hook you up with the microphone, but not turn it on.
Oh,
Thank you so much.
oh, thank you. Thank you.
And later on, we'll be loading it.
Oh, fantastic.